Hello, welcome to my channel and thank you for being here. Today I'll be talking about three images which thematically um, involve or concern um, or have a focus on an organization in South Africa, a women's organization called the Black Sash, which was an organization of white women during the apartheid era, predominantly yes, or started off as white women, and much later in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, and um, went on to include black women. But back then, this was a liberal organization that of women who wanted to do something about apartheid and to assist black people with the struggles of living under apartheid or to actually challenge the apartheid state. And so these images um, um, reflect that ambition and intent of the Black Sash. And so the image that you're looking at, the caption reads, Black Sash members protest outside Westville prison against the detention of children by the apartheid state. Durban, 1986. 1986 is important in that that is when a state of emergency was the state uh, pronounced a state of emergency throughout the country to try to counter the burgeoning protests that were taking place and the resistance to apartheid. And one of the one of the aspects of that um, of those protests was the detention of children. Many children were detained by the apartheid state in its attempt to clamp down on protest, and um, and so this protest was at the gates, literally, of the prison. I had to be careful to have my back to the prison and to avoid photographing national key points. Prisons fell under that jurisdiction, and and I think that this image, I mean, as a press photographer, I was wearing my hat as a press photographer at the time, um, trying to produce images that were of topical interests, but that did capture a bit of you know the the acts of resistance that were taking place. So these balloons the Black Sash were always quite resourceful in how they they did lots of protests, placard protests on streets, but also actions such as this one. And so the balloons have the names of youngsters that were, children that had been imprisoned and were probably even in this very prison. So the second image, um, the caption reads, Black Sash members protest SADF raid into Botswana, in which many exiled South Africans died. Durban, 1988. So 2 years after the first protest, and of course there were many other protests in between that I didn't get to photograph or not in this anthology, mid-career anthology. So here again, quite an innovative protest by the Black Sash, and you can see some of the ladies here wearing their black sashes. So all of them are, in fact, on the beach. And the interesting thing about this beach is that it was right in front of the headquarters of I think it was the Natal, I stand corrected here, the Natal Command, military command. that had been responsible. The military had made this raid into Botswana, one of the many raids that they made into Botswana and neighboring countries, Lesotho, Mozambique, Zambia, even attacking ANC cadres out in that were in exile and based in those countries. So, like some of these mock, faux graves made up to represent, the 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 people that were the victims of these raids. Charles Mukuna and an unknown woman, um, both killed in Gaborone on 26th and the 38th of March 1988. These people had been killed, and there were others. There were quite a few others. This is just this particular frame that I thought worked. But yeah, there were quite a few more graves on this beach, which would have. The interesting thing is that beach would have still been a segregated beach, a whites-only beach at this point in South Africa's racialized history. So yes, quite an interesting act of resistance. The white women had some sense of immunity. I mean, few of them, most of them came from middle class and even one might say upper middle class backgrounds. So they were able to, they had the space in which the state wouldn't easily retaliate. So they didn't have to face ordinarily detention and harassment by the state. So, and they use that. The good thing is that they use that space to be of huge assistance to, supporting the people who were the focus of severe repression. The third image, the caption reads, "A Black Sash member protests outside Glenwood School for Boys against detention of children." Durban, 1987. And so clearly there'd been a focus because from the state of emergency in 1986, lots of young people were being detained. And the Glenwood Boys High was then a whites-only school, and you see that's kind of reflected in these white kids arriving for school. But the school had been in itself quite supportive of these acts of resistance. I mean, I think that I have images of a meeting inside the school of mothers and families protesting detention, the illegal detention. Well, I mean, yeah. Of people by the state. So the poster there, the placard reads, "South Africa jails children, free the children." And this was a way of conscientizing the young white youth who would have been, in a year or two being subjected to military conscription. And for them to start thinking about this, because, a 18-year-old youth is, regardless of what teenagers think, not quite ready yet to make a decision about whether they enter the military or not, and for what purposes. And defending your home, your country and your nation is one thing, but defending an iniquitous racial system like apartheid was quite another. And the idea that South Africa jailed children didn't easily gain traction. Even in the media back then, the media was largely in support of this apartheid system, and even the liberal media was a bit, conflicted about how to abolish apartheid and exactly how to, whether black people should rule in the first instance, whether they should be curtailed uh, in their ambitions for freedom. So I'll end it there. This is conclude this section of the Black Sash protest, and say thank you for watching. And more information on myself and my work can be found on my website, a link to which, including my blog and email address, can be found in the video description below. If you like this talk, remember to click the like button and to press subscribe. It helps the channel grow.